I just want you to know that the notes I have from Al are longer than the sermon notes. So. This passage that we have for today actually continues, as you know. And Jesus calls out Lazarus, and Lazarus does rise. But there's something about this particular verse where Jesus weeps that strikes me as something for us to ponder this fifth Sunday of Lent, because next Sunday is Palm Sunday, and the Sunday after that is Easter. So as I was thinking about this passage, it made me wonder and think a little bit about what had we done prior to this passage in Lent. And you all remember 5 weeks ago when we began Lent, we started with the passage where Jesus is tempted in the wilderness. And had my internet not gone down yesterday, you would have had a pastor's message that talked about that. But it's stuck in the outbox. So someday you'll have that. But I think the significant verse in that passage that we began Lent is the one that says Jesus was led up by the Spirit into the wilderness. And that's the one thing we sometimes forget. We think about the temptations, we think about the wilderness being a place where maybe we don't want to go. But Jesus is led there by the Spirit. And so yesterday's pastor's message was about, when we're led into the wilderness, we have to remember that we're not there by ourselves, but it's the Spirit that is not only accompanying us, but leads us there. So it seems in Lent we begin with this lesson about God is with us and what's happening. And we continue with lesson after lesson after lesson. In the second week of Lent, we read the story of Jesus and Nicodemus. And that's when Jesus is telling him, well, you need to be born again. And he's like, how can I be born again? And go through all that physiological kind of questioning that Nicodemus has. But the important thing there is that Jesus says, truly I tell you, no one can enter the kingdom of God without being born of water and the Spirit. What is born of the flesh is flesh, and what is born of the Spirit is spirit. So for a second time, our passage leads us into pondering the Spirit and where the Spirit is leading us. And I think the thing about Spirit is it's not some great concept theologically or philosophically, but we all know when we're being led by the Spirit. You can sense that. You can feel that. You know when Spirit is leading you. And Spirit may be leading you someplace you're like, look, I don't really want to go there. Like being in the belly of the whale. I don't really want to go there. But once we're there, we know we're being accompanied by Spirit. And what's happening is our eyes are being opened, our ears are being unblocked. And we are experiencing other people and other times and situations the way Spirit, the way God experiences them. And that makes an amazing change in us. So we have this second lesson of Lent. The third week of Lent, it's Jesus with the Samaritan woman at the well. And she learns a whole lot from Jesus. And she calls him the Messiah, and she brings people to faith. And what he tells her, if you knew the gift of God and who it is that is saying to you, give me a drink, you would have asked him, and he would have given you living water. And we all know within us, as we've walked these days of Lent and as we've walked life's journey, that there is living water. And that it's there for us, and that other things we use to quench that thirst, to slake that thirst, to make us feel fuller and more whole, those other things we try don't do that. There's nothing else we can drink, no matter what its effect on the rest of us, that can make us feel the way it feels for us to know God in a way where we can say we have that living water within us. It flows from me out to others, and I know that I have this living water within me. That's the third lesson of Lent. The fourth lesson of Lent was last Sunday's, where Jesus cured the man blind from birth. And remember, the Pharisees asked at the beginning, who sinned, this man or his parents? And Jesus says, what? Neither. Neither sinned. He was born blind so that God's works might be revealed in him. We're all born into situations, whatever those situations are. And hopefully, we're all born, created by this God of ours who loves us, calls us each by name, so that God's works can be revealed in us and how we live our lives, answering God's call, answering Spirit's invitation. So that brings us to today's lesson. And it seems to me it's a lesson in some ways for Jesus. Now, he's doing what he's called to do. And you got to get, this is the turning point in John's gospel, where Jesus is leaving the public domain, if you will. He's leaving the crowd scene, and he's moving with just his disciples. Where is he moving? Moving toward Jerusalem. He's moving toward the death on the cross. That's where he's moving. And his disciples at this point, when word reaches them that Lazarus has died and Martha and Mary would love for Jesus to come, they're discouraging him from going. Why are they discouraging him? Because they think by discouraging him, they can keep him from answering the call and doing what he needs to do in Jerusalem. But they can't. And yet he delays. We don't know why he delays. We don't know what he did for those 2 days. All we know is he delayed. And by the time he gets there, Lazarus has been sealed in a cave for 4 days. And we read that in Scripture, and I think in part we read that so we get there's no possibility that he's still alive. And like Jonah spending 3 days in the belly of the whale and he stunk, imagine what that cave might have smelled like. And when Jesus says, take the rock away, unseal the cave, nobody's anticipating this is going to be a pleasant experience. What we read where we end this passage is that Jesus wept. But nowhere does it say why he wept. When Mary came where Jesus was and saw him, she knelt at his feet and said, "Lord, if you had been here, my brother would not have died." Pretty much what Martha has said earlier, laying the guilt on Jesus. Not that we would do that. Jesus, if you cared, this wouldn't have happened in my life. Jesus, if you loved me, that wouldn't have happened in my life. Not that any of us have had those thoughts. That's pretty much what they're saying. When Jesus saw her weeping, and the Jews who came with her also weeping, he was greatly disturbed in spirit and deeply moved. "Where have you laid him?" "Lord, come and see." And Jesus wept. And that's all we have for context. So why did he weep? He knew he was about to raise Lazarus from the dead. Why did he weep? This is the part where I wait for an answer. Yeah, Michelle?
He was showing his human side,
Mm.
that he was fully human and fully divine. He knew he was going to raise him, but he had sorrow that he was gone.
Yeah, he was just being that human. Yeah. Being the human part that was his journey. Yeah. Anybody else? I mean, there are lots of ways to answer this. Why did he weep? Did he weep because everybody around him was weeping? Did you ever do that? Did you ever have that experience when people around you are weeping, so you weep too? I've done that. It's like, let's all weep together. There's that piece.
He was also his best friend.
Who was his best friend? Was he feeling that he let him down, that he let down the women who were the sisters of Lazarus, who was his best friend, women who loved him and women he loved? You know how that is. When you get a best friend, you get the whole family most of the time. You know how that is.
Wasn't this the last sign?
It is. It was the last sign in John's Gospel. This is sign 7. It's the last one. Yeah. Any other thoughts? Why did he weep?
Maybe he was happy about being able to show God's glory, just like we did when he healed the man of the eye.
So you're thinking they could have been tears of joy?
Could be.
Could be. Okay. I'm about to start calling names, so this is the part where your heart starts pumping. Nancy?
Maybe he was feeling sorry for himself because he knew what his fate was.
Maybe he was feeling sorry for himself. He knew what was coming.
Mm-hmm.
You know, maybe he saw his friend was dead and he knew that was going to happen to him in the next few days.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Somebody have a hand up back there? Yeah.
Was he weeping because they blamed him because they didn't understand, like, how God weeps when he sees people that turn away from him because they don't understand his ways?
Mm.
That's
I think
why-
God does weep when we turn away. God never turns away. But God can't stop us from turning away. And so does that make God sad? I think it does. You know? Harold Kushner, the rabbi who wrote When Bad Things Happen to Good People, says we have a choice to believe in a God who is all-powerful or a God who is all-compassionate. I choose the all-compassionate God. Yeah, the God that's always got God's arms for the rest of us. This passage goes on. So the Jews said, see how he loved him? But some said, could not he who opened the eyes of the blind man have kept this man from dying? Then Jesus, again greatly disturbed, came to the tomb. It was a cave, and a stone was lying against it. And Jesus said, take away the stone. Martha, the sister of the dead man, said, Lord, already there is a stench because he has been dead 4 days. Jesus said, did I not tell you that if you believed, you would see the glory of God? So they took away the stone, and Jesus looked up and said, Abba, I thank you for having heard me. I knew that you always hear me, but I have said this for the sake of the crowd standing here, so they may believe that you sent me. And he cried aloud, Lazarus, come out. And Lazarus came out. His hands and feet bound with strips of cloth, and his face wrapped in a cloth. And Jesus said to them, unbind him and let him go. I think what's important as we get Jesus' humanness, as we get all these thoughts we have about why Jesus is weeping, that something goes on after that. That Jesus not only raises Lazarus, but Jesus involves the community. We don't get to be the bystanders that just stand and weep. We get to stand and weep, but we don't get to be just that. What is the first thing that Jesus says?
Can't remember.
He tells the community, he tells the folks gathered there to move the stone, take away the stone. And the second thing he asks them to do, or tells them to do, is unbind him. Take away the stone and unbind him. That's the call to the community. Take away that which separates us from one another. Take away the stones. That's our call. And our second call in this passage is to unbind those who have been bound, to free those who have been held bound. And that's a very real, concrete image in this passage. It is a passage, and it is a command or an invitation, if you will, that calls to us, cries to us across the centuries. Take away that which separates. Take away that which excludes somebody and leaves them alone. And once you've taken that away, unbind the one who was bound. That's our call today. So as we prepare for Palm Sunday, which is next week, and for Good Friday after that, and for Easter that follows Good Friday, it's like Jonah got spat out on the sand after 3 days. Jesus comes out of his own tomb after 3 days. But as we prepare for that, let's think this week about those things that separate us from others, and remove the boulders that separate us. And let's think about those who are held bound, and let us, with the tenderest hands of compassion, unwrap their bindings and set them free. That's our call this week. I can't wait to hear next week how you all live that out, because I know there are ways each of us is being called to live that out. And so this week, be blessed, because you will be blessed. Amen.